what's going on, guys? It's J Mass, and I'm back again with another dope New England adventure. And as you can see on this very cold morning, I'm currently deep in the middle of the woods here in the town of East Greenwich, Rhode Island, just south of the city of Providence, Rhode Island. And today we got a really cool abandoned location. In fact, this is an abandoned location that I've been wanting to come to for many years now. Now, some of you guys might remember about 2 months ago, I filmed at an abandoned airplane crash site in the town of Petersham, Massachusetts. It was the 1955 F-94A Starfire jet crash. Really cool abandoned plane crash site. And you might remember that in that video, I teased the following. And I'm hoping to have more plane crash videos coming up soon of specific plane crash sites here in New England. There's a lot that I know about, and there's one specifically I'm trying to get to soon. Hint, hint, it is in Rhode Island. If you know, you know. Well, today is officially the day. We're going to be checking out that very abandoned plane crash here in Rhode Island. And I'm wicked excited because I've known about this plane crash for quite some time now, and I'm really excited to check it out. The thing I have heard, though, is that this abandoned plane wreck is hidden deep in the middle of the woods, and as we go on, the forest will get progressively more overgrown, swampy, and marshy. So we got a very long and tedious trek ahead of us. But nonetheless, at the very end of it awaits a really cool abandoned plane wreck. And I'll get into more of the history and details with it as we go. But I do want to say that I'm not going alone. I'm actually joined by a frequent collaborator on the channel, my homeboy, Noah Faraday.
Good morning.
How's it going, Noah?
Back again.
Yeah.
Good to see y'all.
Yeah, he's been on this channel many times before. Definitely check out his channels, Noah Faraday. It's under that name. He's a really cool guy. He does paranormal investigations, urban exploration, and all that stuff. And today he's going to be joining me as we trek over to the abandoned plane crash here in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. How hyped are you, dude?
Dude, I'm so freaking hyped to collab with you.
Same here. I'm hyped to collab with myself, honestly. All right, so we're going to make the trek over right now and join us as we trudge through the swamp, the marsh, the overgrown thickets and thorns, all the way to this plane crash. Let's go. Well, guys, we've officially made it to the abandoned plane crash here in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. And I gotta say, the journey to get here was quite arduous. We had to wade through pretty thick and dense brush and foliage. A lot of it was thickets and thorns, and of course the swamp itself was pretty muddy and cold and wet. But nonetheless, after a very long and tedious trek, we've officially made it to this abandoned plane crash, and I gotta say, I'm extremely excited. I mean, this thing's been on my Urbex bucket list for many years now. So I will be getting into the history and details shortly. I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering how a plane like this got deep into the middle of the woods. It's a really interesting story, so I'll get into that shortly, but yeah, we've officially made it. And by the way, I know people are going to ask, I'm not going to be releasing any information regarding where exactly this is. It is public information that it's in East Greenwich, but I'm not going to be telling you guys what forest it's in. I'm not going to be releasing coordinates, so if anyone asks me, unfortunately, I'm not going to tell you. This thing has no vandalism whatsoever. I want to keep it that way. I want to keep it safe and pristine, or as pristine as it can be. So I'm going to be keeping the exact location of this plane confidential. But yeah, let's get into the history, and I'm excited to explore it more in depth. All right, Noah, you excited to check out this plane crash?
I am so hyped. I'm ready for this.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm excited too. And as we make our way over to this abandoned plane wreck, I'm going to give you guys the history, including how exactly it got here. So picture this, November 22nd, 1971. This plane that you see right in front of you, a twin-engine Aero Commander 56OA, departed from Chatham, Massachusetts, bound for Newark, New Jersey. On board, there were 6 total people. This included a pilot, a co-pilot, and 4 passengers, 2 of which were actually higher-ups from Prudential Financial. Part of the problem with this plane, the Aero Commander 56OA, is that it's a very faulty plane with many technical issues. And even back then in 1971, many people knew that the Aero Commander 56OA had a lot of technical problems. And that is partially to blame for this crash. However, it's not the only reason. The other problem was the weather. As this plane was flying overhead over the state of Rhode Island, the weather began to significantly worsen. Icy conditions occurred with thick sleet and fog. And as a result, the pilots on board were trying to make contact with the nearby T.F. Green Airport. However, the engines began to fail, and before they could do anything, the plane crashed deep into the swampy woods right here in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Now, unfortunately, all 6 people on board were injured. However, no one died upon impact. But unfortunately, one of them, a 58-year-old woman who was actually the wife of the vice president of Prudential Financial, succumbed to her injuries later on in the hospital. So while all 6 were injured upon impact, nobody died. One of them did die later on, though, so ultimately the death toll was 1 with 5 injured. So that is essentially the history of this plane crash. On November 22nd, 1971, this Aero Commander 56OA departed from Chatham, Massachusetts, bound for Newark, New Jersey, carrying 6 people on board. Unfortunately, it crashed due to being a faulty design as well as the worsening weather. 6 people on board with ultimately 5 injured, 1 dead. And today, the crash remains here in the deep, swampy woods of East Greenwich. Now, part of why the plane is still here and hasn't been removed is because of its location. As I've mentioned many times, the woods here are extremely thick and dense, and of course, we are in a swamp. So getting emergency vehicles and law enforcement out here is pretty tough. Now, luckily, everyone escaped, but the plane did not, and the plane is still sitting here to this day. The only thing, as far as I can tell, that's actually missing are the engines. I believe the engines have been taken or at least were lost elsewhere. So the engines are no longer here, and I'm sure some parts have probably been scrapped over the years, but as you can see overall, the entire plane is pretty much left behind. Pretty crazy stuff, huh?
It's nuts, dude.
Now, part of the problem for me and Noah is, of course, the environment. As you can see, we're literally in the middle of a marshy swamp right now. There's no way to actually get inside except for wading in the water, and it's a lot deeper than it looks. I mean, we've been hopping from like island to island trying to get views of this plane. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
So depressing right now trying to get inside.
This is one of the most difficult abandoned locations either of us have ever accessed. And even stuff like this, like look at this damn thing. Ugh. All right, Noah, let's see if we can make our way over.
All right, let's do it.
I'm gonna show you guys on film how tough it is navigating this location.
All right, everyone, so as you can see over there,
Wow.
this was where the propeller was.
All right, guys, wish Noah luck. He's gonna meet me over on the plane right now. Ooh, jeez,
Backpack's weighty.
that's tough. Yeah, to kind of give you an idea, we started over there. We crossed all through those little islands over the marshland, made it over here, and now we're actually standing on the plane. Now, I do just want to say this plane is actually very sturdy. I'm not causing any structural damage right now by standing on this. It's actually a very sturdy plane. I mean, again, this thing has been sitting here since 1971. At this point, it's like stuck in place. But I do want to show you a close-up view. So right over there is the tail of the plane. I believe that's actually the plane code. Looks like N87K. Really cool. And you can see the paint on it is actually well retained. You know, it got some blue, some white, of course, a lot of water damage and mold, but I can still make out the paint, blue and white. Now, I'm obviously no expert when it comes to plane parts, but I do want to show you some close-ups of the parts that are left behind. This is the turbine, you think, right? I believe.
That was a propeller.
Propeller or turbine. Oh, yep. I think that is the... Oh, yeah. So I think this is probably the propeller or turbine. We're actually standing on the wing right now. This is one of the wings, which completely destroyed out here. Looks like there actually might be another wing over there. Check that out. Another part of the wing, kind of farther away. And then this is the body of the plane, of course. It does look like we can get inside, which I'll do momentarily, but a little tough to do, but yeah, we can get inside. That's the cockpit right over there. That's the cockpit. That's where the pilot and co-pilot would have been. And if I'm not mistaken, the passengers would have been back here, the 4 passengers. And again, these people were, they were pretty important. They were higher ups from Prudential Financial, the president and vice president, and I believe at least 1 or 2 of their wives. So pretty important cargo on board. All right, guys, so I moved a little bit further up the wing right now, and we're now going to be doing the thing I was most excited to do on this trip, and that is peek inside the airplane itself. Take a view inside the body, the cockpit, all that. I mean, I've been wanting to come here for years, and now that we're here, I just want to see as much as I can. Before we do that, though, one thing I do want to direct your attention to, it looks like some visitors to this plane have been tagging the plane, not with graffiti or paint, but with little scratch marks and stuff. By the way, this was not Noah. That wasn't you, right, Noah?
Nope, not me.
Not you?
Not me.
That was not Noah. So I just want to say, not a big fan of doing that. That's not cool. I do want to keep this as preserved and pristine as possible, even in the destroyed and decayed state it is. But other than that, not too much graffiti. It's pretty untouched, which is nice. But yeah, let's take a look inside. I'm going to try to be careful as we view inside this destroyed plane. So that right there is the absolutely mangled cockpit. I mean, it might even be hard for you guys to make it out because it's so destroyed, but that is the cockpit. Of course, the airplane is turned upside down, so we're viewing this from an upside down angle. You can actually barely make out that over there. I think that's actually one of the pilot's seats, if I'm not mistaken. That's where one of the pilots would have been sitting. Not sure if it was the pilot or the co-pilot, but yeah, this is the cockpit. And then back here is the body of the plane. Way back there is actually the tail. That's the very end of the tail. You can see a lot of stuff is still left behind, though. Got a lot of wiring, some buttons and random machinery, plugs. I mean, this is crazy. There is quite a bit left in here. Obviously, a lot of it's been scrapped and stuff, but still a decent amount left behind in this Aero Commander 56OA. Super crazy stuff. By the way, I should probably mention the reason it's called an Aero Commander 56OA. This model is from 1956. So this was built in 1956, crashed in 1971. Wow. So yeah, that's the tail right there. Body right here. Do see a little paint though, sadly. And then the cockpit, absolutely mangled. Unfortunately, I'm pretty limited with my mobility right now, but hopefully that gives you guys a pretty good view of what it looks like inside. And then back out here is the tail. I mean, crazy stuff. Okay, I'm gonna really precariously move down this wing a bit and try to give you guys another view of inside the cockpit. Hopefully a little closer up this time. I also gotta be careful because there's so much sharp metal. Look at that. That's like begging for a tetanus shot. But yeah, this is inside the cockpit. Hopefully a better close-up view. Absolutely insane. You can actually see some of the flooring, or actually this is technically the roof because this is flipped upside down, but some of that is ripped up. And again, you can see the swamp, the marsh water right below us. I mean, this thing, actually, this plane is literally in the water. It's like the nose of the plane is dipping under the water as it's been for many decades now. Absolutely crazy and completely mangled. Just a mess of destruction and carnage. Absolutely crazy though. Look at that. I wish I knew what all these parts were. That's the only thing. A lot of these parts I'm just not familiar with. I'm not really a technical expert or a plane expert, but awesome stuff to see nonetheless. Actually, this right here, these are the windows. Look at that. Yeah, super cool. Sorry, I wish I had more commentary on what these parts actually are that we're looking at. It's just so hard to tell with this destruction. I gotta be careful making my way back up here. And this is an above view. Look at that. This would have been the bottom of the plane. Again, completely destroyed and mangled. I mean, what do you think, Noah?
Dude, it's pretty intense.
It really is. Intense is the right word. It is.
Imagine being like passengers on the plane.
Oh, I can only imagine. It must have been so scary too, because obviously they were all lucid, you know, going down. They knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how scary it was.
I'm gonna go inside.
Okay guys, so we're back here towards the tail of the plane right now. Going to take a little bit more of a look at the exterior from this angle. There's a little bit more to see. But as we do that, I want to touch upon more of the plane itself, the Aero Commander 56OA. As I mentioned, it was a very faulty plane with known technical problems. That's partially to blame for the engine failure and, of course, the crash. Noah, you knew an interesting fact about this being a faulty plane, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the National Transportation Safety Board, they conducted a study of 477 planes, and this Aero Commander was one of them. And what happened was they found out that this had the second highest rate of crash rate and engine failure.
Wow.
Nuts.
So this was considered like one of the absolute worst planes for engine failure, pretty much.
Problems, yeah.
Wow. So yeah, you heard it, folks. This is a very bad plane in terms of technical performance.
It was doomed to fail.
Yeah. I mean, it was only inevitable, I assume.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the icy conditions, you know, the fog, the sleet, probably didn't help. Yeah, crazy stuff. So this is the other angle. Of course, this is the wing right here. Oh, look at that. So down here, you can see the wing is completely blue, all painted blue. In fact, this right here, this would have been the top of the plane. Show you that right there. This would have been the top of the plane. Now it's the bottom. This plane's been overturned, but it's completely blue on the bottom. That's really interesting. The wing right here, the propeller or turbine. And then back here is, of course, the tail. It looks like there's a little marking right here. Not really sure what that marking is supposed to represent, but you got that. You got N87K, and then this, I believe, is the other wing over here. It looks like this other wing has been scattered. You got the propeller. Yeah, this one's somehow completely detached. I don't know how that happened because this wing is still intact. But this one, completely destroyed. Very strange. Let's see if I can precariously make my way over to this wing. Yeah, these wings are very sturdy, I gotta say. Like, the metal is very well made. No bounce to it whatsoever. It's not really bending. Even though this thing crashed, I gotta say, the craftsmanship is pretty excellent. All right, let's take a look at this piece right over here, the scattered detached piece. The propeller turbine, what does that say? Probably a serial number. Let me make my way around here. Yeah, look at that. And then, of course, this is the plane from the back, a back view of the plane. That's the tail right in front of us. Actually, you can even see the whole of the tail right there. That's what we were peeking out of earlier. Completely sitting here in the middle of the swamp. And I do just want to briefly give you a view of the woods. Look how dense and thick this forest is. And really quickly, I do want to say it's not just this plain wreckage over here. There are actually little pieces scattered throughout the woods. You can see right over there, there's some more wreckage that's been launched from the plane. Another piece right here. And then if you look right here to my right, another piece. So there are pieces and parts of this plane scattered all throughout the woods. I'm sure it would take a complete search party to find it all, and I think that's partially why this plane was never removed. Not only is it just in a very difficult location to reach, you know, in the middle of a swamp in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, difficult for law enforcement or even just vehicles in general to get over here, but you know, the plane isn't entirely intact. Everything's been scattered, and again, as I mentioned earlier, the engines are also gone. I can't tell if the engines were actually taken or just lost, but they're not here. Crazy stuff. Hey Noah,
Yeah?
you know the TV show Lost, right?
That's the one with the plane crash, right?
Yep, that's the one.
Why are you asking?
No reason. And yeah, guys, that was the abandoned plane crash here in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Crashed here on November 22nd, 1971, after departing from Chatham, Massachusetts, en route to Newark, New Jersey. It was carrying 6 people on board, including the pilot, co-pilot, and 4 passengers. And somehow it ended up in this swampy marshland here in the middle of the woods in East Greenwich, due to a multitude of reasons, primarily the plane being a faulty design and, of course, the severe weather. You know, had icy conditions. There was sleet, there was fog, and they were unable to make an emergency landing at nearby TF Green Airport in time. So as a result, they crashed here. 5 people injured, one who originally was injured but unfortunately succumbed to her injuries. And yeah, today this plane just sits here, nestled deep in the middle of the woods. It is quite a trek to get here. Before I head out and film the outro, I do just want to show you guys one final view of this plane. Pretty cool stuff. Start here at the tail. I got the really cool numbers, and then I don't think we actually peeked in from this angle yet. But yeah, here's the inside from the tail. Look at that down there. All of the wiring, machinery, just the industrial technical parts. That is crazy to see. But the thing I really like about this plane is you can still see the coloring. When you peek down here, it's all blue, just the blue coloring. I mean, this is actually the top of the plane right here. This is the bottom, but it's completely overturned. Likely happened after impact. Let's head up here one final time. I will say I'm not going to miss all the island hopping. I've been doing a ton of island hopping. I know Noah has as well. Get back up on this wing. But yeah, this is the abandoned plane crash here in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Genuinely wanted to come here for years. This has been one of my Urbex bucket lists here in New England. This was like one of the top spots I've always wanted to visit, and we finally made it. Really cool, though I will say extremely difficult to navigate. There's a lot of precarious climbing and hopping. I mean, Noah's boots are filled with water right now. It's a cold December day, and to be fair, I will say we chose that for a reason. I can't even imagine trying to get over here in the middle of the summer with all the thick, dense foliage and leaves in full bloom. We actually specifically came here in mid-December because there's no foliage left behind. It's all dead. So that did make it a little easier to get here. Take one final peek inside. Got the mangled cockpit right over there. The body of the plane right here. Peeking back out to the tail. Super cool stuff, guys. I absolutely love checking this out. But I think that about does it for the East Greenwich 1971 plane wreck. Super cool stuff. What did you think, Noah?
Dude, I want to sit down and relax, but I think this was a phenomenal adventure.
Absolutely could not agree more.
Hey, thank you guys for joining me. I've been J-Mass as always, and this has been another dope New England adventure. And today we explored the abandoned ruins of this 1971 plane crash deep in the woods here in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. And I gotta say, this was such a cool sight to see. This has been on my urban exploration bucket list for many years now, and I'm excited that I finally got to check it out up close and in person. I mean, just look at this plane, so cool. As I mentioned, this Aero Commander 56OA departed from Chatham, Massachusetts on November 22nd, 1971, with intentions to arrive in Newark, New Jersey. There were 6 total people on board, a pilot, a co-pilot, and 4 passengers. And when it crashed, all 6 were injured. However, one of them eventually succumbed to her injuries later on in the hospital. But 2 of them were actually pretty important people, the president and vice president of Prudential Financial. But nonetheless, this plane has sat here completely abandoned and in ruins since 1971. And I'm excited we got to check it out. It's in a pretty crazy location, too. I mean, getting here is quite the trek. You got to go through all the thick brush. Of course, you got the swampy marshland. Noah got his boots filled with water, which is kind of rough, especially on this cold December day. But I'm glad we got to check it out. As always, guys, my name is J-Mass. If you love urban exploration, checking out abandoned sites, traveling New England and beyond, I'm always doing them on the channel, so feel free to subscribe. I want to give a major shout out to all of my channel members. You can see them right here. You guys are awesome, and I would love it if you too became a channel member. You'd be supporting me and the channel directly. I would truly appreciate that. Or you can follow me on Instagram at JMassOfficial. That's at JMassOfficial. And I want to give a special shout out to, of course, Noah Faraday. Seriously, Noah, thank you for joining me on this trip as always. It's always a pleasure filming with you. What are your thoughts on this abandoned plane crash?
I really, really hope that this location stays the way it is and doesn't get any tags, any more tags, that is, because this is a piece of history and I just really want to preserve it.
Absolutely, could not agree more. This is a rich piece of Rhode Island history. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm not going to be giving away this location. I'm not going to reveal the forest I'm in. I'm not going to reveal the coordinates. So if you ask me, I'm going to say no, nada. I wish I could, but I just want to keep this place preserved and pristine. But I'm glad I got to show you guys. And again, shout out to Noah for joining me. He has an Instagram, a TikTok, and a YouTube where he posts tons of dope content. It's under his name, Noah Faraday. And eventually he's going to release a video on this place as well. So definitely check that out when it comes out, hopefully within a week. But yeah, that's been it. JMass, Noah Faraday, East Greenwich, Rhode Island, the 1971 plane crash. Catch you later and see you guys later. Woo!
Ta-ta.